Before we get started, hit the like button, subscribe, and watch to the end to get free guide on eBay Stealth. And if you need urgent help, my WhatsApp and Telegram contact details are below. eBay expects sellers to consistently provide services that result in a high level of buyer satisfaction. This includes setting and meeting buyer expectations by providing excellent customer service from beginning to end. You can see how you're performing both domestically and across various international markets in your Seller Standards dashboard. Specifically, you can view how well you're meeting buyer expectations with buyers from the United States, United Kingdom, German, and global markets. Learn more about our global seller performance standards. As a seller, you're expected to promptly resolve customer issues, ship items on time, within your specified handling time, manage inventory and keep items well stocked, charge reasonable shipping and handling costs, specify shipping costs and handling time in the listing, follow through on your return policy, respond to buyers' questions promptly, be helpful, friendly, and professional throughout a transaction. Make sure the item is delivered to the buyer as described in the listing. For more information on meeting buyers' expectations, see our selling practices policy. Keep in mind too, that if you don't meet buyers' expectations, it can lead to not meeting the late shipment rate requirements, exceeding minimum requirements for defect rate, a bad experience for you and the buyer, low detailed seller ratings, negative or neutral feedback from a buyer requesting a return or reporting that an item was not received, a buyer asking us to step in and help with a transaction issue. Transaction defect rate requirements. The transaction defect rate is the percentage of your transactions that have one or more of the following defects. eBay money-back guarantee and PayPal purchase protection cases closed without seller resolution. Seller-initiated transaction cancellation. To meet our minimum standard, you can only have up to 2% of transactions with one or more defects over the most recent evaluation period. To qualify as a top-rated seller, you can only have up to 0.5% of transactions with one or more defects over the most recent evaluation period. Only your transactions with US buyers count toward your seller performance rating on eBay.com. The defect rate won't affect your seller performance status until you have transactions with defects with at least 5 different buyers, or at least 4 different buyers, to impact top-rated status within your evaluation period. You can have a maximum of 0.3% of eBay money-back guarantee or PayPal purchase protection closed cases without seller resolution over the most recent evaluation period. That means the buyer reported they didn't receive an item, asked to return an item, or opened a PayPal purchase protection case. You weren't able to resolve it. The buyer asked us to step in and help, and we found you responsible. Sellers with 400 or more transactions over the past 3 months are evaluated based on the past 3 months, and sellers with fewer than 400 transactions are evaluated based on the past 12 months. Buyers won't see your defect rate. Keep in mind that buyers still see your feedback rating and all 4 detailed seller ratings. You'll be recognized for on-time shipping if tracking shows your item was either shipped within the stated handling time or delivered by the estimated delivery date. If there's no tracking available, we'll check with your buyer. If your buyer confirms the item was delivered on time, you'll be recognized for on-time shipping. Shipments will be considered late only when tracking shows item was delivered after the estimated delivery date, and there's no acceptance scan within your handling time, or there's no confirmation from the buyer of on-time delivery, or buyer confirms item was delivered after the estimated delivery date, and there's no acceptance scan within your handling time, or there's no delivery confirmation by the estimated delivery date. If you would like to see a summary of the new standards, please see the Fall Seller Update. Cases closed without seller resolution. For the eBay money-back guarantee, when a buyer initially starts a return because the item didn't match the listing description, or reports that they didn't receive an item, the transaction issue is called a request. If the buyer and seller can't resolve the problem, and the buyer or seller asks us to step in and help with the transaction, the request then becomes a case. For PayPal purchase protection, the transaction issue is a case throughout the process. The number of cases closed without resolution is an important indicator of how well a seller may be meeting buyer expectations on eBay, and is a measure of overall seller performance. A case closed without seller resolution. In any case, the seller is unable to resolve with the buyer, prior to the buyer asking us to step in and help with a request, or escalating a case to PayPal for review, and eBay or PayPal determines the seller is responsible. Here are the minimum case requirements all sellers are expected to meet. The percentage requirement applies after the account has exceeded the maximum number of occurrences. What happens if you don't meet the standards? If you don't meet the minimum performance standards, we may put limits on your selling activity, or lower your search placement, until your performance improves. We may also restrict you from selling items on eBay if your performance falls significantly below the minimum requirements. If you have a premium or anchor eBay store and have been below standard for 60 days, we may downgrade your store to the basic level. If your account doesn't meet the standards, you need to resolve all issues on the account before buying or selling with other accounts. Can't register for a new account. Can't use an existing eBay account to avoid buying and selling limits or other policy consequences. Need help with eBay suspensions and limitations.